we have our last two storytellers coming on stage now for us, and was really lucky to run into the pack track up in Chicago a few weeks ago. The Norton's Owners Club was hosting their vintage event, and was walking around, and this delightful couple was there with their bikes and the dog packs on the back. It was just such an incredible scene. So I stopped to talk with them and kind of chewed Janell's ear off about joining blah 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 storytellers at some point, and it just worked out really well that their timing had them come through Louisville at the same time that I could be here. So I was really lucky for the coincidence of, you know, life's universe path to just come together right here tonight. So we have Janell and Stu Clarke from the Pack Track. These folks have been traveling on their bikes for 10 years. And they've been doing it with rescue dogs the whole time. And they started with a different one, and unfortunately, as you know, our pet loves happen, she passed. But as they continued to travel, they just kind of kept accumulating these sweet, sweet dogs and rescuing them from these countries. And so they've been traveling with them ever since. And so here they are. I just can't, I'm gonna let them tell their story. It's pretty incredible. If you would, please consider making a nice donation for them. They do rely on the donations of others to fund their trip, to make this happen, to also help spread the word of adopt, basically, not shop, right? Find those rescue dogs, find those rescue pets at your local rescue shelters. So if you wouldn't mind, they have a really nice display at the back of the room. When they're done at the end of the evening, go talk with them a little bit more, maybe make a nice donation so they can continue on their journey together. But please welcome to the stage Janell and Stu Clarke from the Pack Track.
Hi, these pictures were taken in 2013, a few months before we started travelling. We're from Sydney, Australia, and I'm Janell, it's my husband Stu. My husband Stu was in the Navy before we started travelling. He's an engineer. I was an engineer and I worked for council. We were Harley Davidson riders, but we decided that for this trip, the best bike for us was the BMW 650 GS, the single cylinder. Oh, great.
You're clean there.
I ride the 2006 and Stu rides the 2012. They're almost identical bikes.
So why did we bring our dogs with us?
But that's a very complicated and long answer.
So we had a dog in Australia, her name was Skylar, and she was a kind of like a pit bull cross. She's really the reason that we dared to dream we could travel around the world with a dog. She was pretty fearless. She was about 7 years old when we started traveling, but unfortunately she had a very aggressive form of cancer, and she passed away about 6 months into our trip. But I started riding with her when I was 26 years old on my Harley Davidson. That boat footage at the end, that was us, our motorbikes, and obviously Skylar sailing from Panama into Colombia back in 2014. When Skylar passed away, within a month, we had adopted another dog in Venezuela, Wheatie. Wheatie's she's sitting over here fast asleep. She's our most troubled dog. She's been to 100 countries. She's the most unlikely adventurer. She was hit by a truck when she was quite young. Someone rescued her and the vets did the best they could to rehabilitate her, but she's quite disabled with her back legs. We always said that she needed 2 wheels to get around. She also has epilepsy, so that's something else that we have to deal with while we're travelling with her, but she's a pretty tough dog. She goes in the blanket a lot for us to carry around because she can't walk so far. We adopted Wheatie in October 2014, and we travelled all around South America, and we were just about to ship out of South America when Shadow ran across the road in rural Colombia in front of Stu. He missed her, but the car behind him didn't. It ran over her, and we have a policy of always stopping to check any kind of animals. And she was still alive, so we picked her up and we put her in with Wheatie, and we got her to a vet, and she was fine. She just had to have an eye removed. So we decided to adopt her. She didn't really stand much of a chance being adopted in Bogota. Shadow's the sweetest member of our pack. She's just a big love bug. So it was the 4 of us for quite a few years. And it wasn't until December 2021, with absolutely no intention of adopting any more dogs, that we saw Azra run across the road, a really big highway in the middle of nowhere in Turkey, and this was in December 2021. We picked her up, popped her in the Pilly and Pooch, and we got in contact with the rescue centre. We asked them, told them the situation. They said they'd take her, but it was about 400 or 500 kilometres to get to the rescue centre. In the meantime, we discovered she had parvovirus, which is pretty deadly to puppies and kittens. So we took her to a vet. The vet said that he would treat her, but it was high risk, and he'd only do it if we'd adopt her. So we said we'd adopt her, not really knowing if she would survive, but she did.
She's done 180 kilometres today, thrown straight in the deep end, and she seemed to, well, she just passed out when asleep, so she had no problems being with like a dog, did you? But first things first, she needs a serious bath. So we're going to jump in the shower together, aren't we?
It's not easy,
So it's been us, our bikes, and 3 dogs for about 20 countries. We arrived in the US from Southeast Asia, and we're touring around for a few months, doing kind of like a quarantine before we head back to Australia with our dogs.
so yeah, that previous map, that's all the countries, that's our route that we've taken, and can't really see the country count very well, but got all the country counts for each of the dogs that they've done. So last year, we found ourselves crossing Central Asia, heading towards Mongolia. So we've been a dream of ours for a long time to get through the stands, to see Uzbekistan through to Tajikistan, to the Pamir Highway, and it was every bit what we hoped for. It was an amazing trip. We were up at times up close to 4,600 metres, so I think over 15,000 feet, getting close, approaching 17,000. It's not the highest we've been, but it was right up there, and it was stunning because last year there was no tourism through that part of the world. We had it still the COVID, the leftover from COVID, and also what was going on in Russia just prevented a lot of people from getting over there. So it was really surreal just to have all of this space all to ourselves. Also the same as we're heading into Mongolia. So the problem we had, one of the big problems we had at this time of year was it was now September by the time we decided that we were leaving the stands and heading into Mongolia. It was a big question whether we should do it or not, but there was an unseasonably warm period coming through in Mongolia, and coming from the west was a cold front that was pretty severe. So we had a friend who got into northern Kazakhstan and turned left and went straight into this cold front and seriously regretted his choice. We were trying to convince him to come with us, but he said no, the weather's going to fall off a cliff and it's going to be horrendous. So he went his way, we went ours, and we just knew we had to keep ahead of this cold front the whole time. So it was a race against time. We just had to keep doing as much distance as we could every single day. But as soon as we entered into Mongolia, you go back in time. Straight away, the first night we're staying in the yurt straight away, and everything is just, it's a very traditional life. This is our first day.
Yeah, we're having a really great day here in Mongolia. The weather's just been fantastic today. We had to get up to about 2,600 meters this morning, and it definitely cooled off. It was a little bit cooler this morning, but since we've come down in elevation, it's just been really lovely. And we're trying to make as much distance as we can, so we might do a 600 plus kilometer day today, which is huge for us. But the roads are fantastic, real surprise. And about 1,000 kilometers or so back in that direction, back in Kazakhstan, there's a really nasty weather system coming through that we want to keep ahead of. So it's already dumping snow, and the temperatures have plummeted as it's come through. And here, the forecasts have this area just covered in snow by next week.
We've made it as far as we can today. We were really trying to get to a town called Altai, but it's still about another 150 kilometers. It was going to be a really ambitious day, about 660 kilometers. We set it as a goal. Of course, we didn't have to make it, and we're not making it. The sun set probably about 20 minutes ago. So this is day 2 in Mongolia. We're pushing hard because we know that the cold weather is following us. So we need to get across Mongolia. We need to get to Ulaanbaatar.
It's now 8:30 and we're completely packed up and ready to hit the road. We'll be in Altai by 10:30, and we'll have breakfast, and then we'll do what should have been today's ride 400, or it's not even 400 kilometers, 380 kilometers, and we'll get to the next spot, and we will be well ahead of the weather, which is where we're trying to be, and we'll be back on schedule, which will be great. So here we go.
So we were doing really well. We were keeping ahead of the weather. We were doing the distances we needed to do every day, more or less. And if we weren't, we were catching up. And doing a lot of camping. I mean, Mongolia is just spectacular. It's so sparsely populated. You just pull off to the side of the road and just ride. There is a really good sealed road all the way through the country, but you can just go off, turn off anywhere, and just go and ride. And it's spectacular, and you have so much freedom to move. One thing we saw a lot of while we were travelling through were these huge eagles or hawks or some type of bird of prey. They stood about 1 metre tall, so like 3 foot or 3 foot tall. And we'd never been able to get a good photo of one. So you saw them, and as we were getting closer to them, they fly away. And when we set the Insta 360 action cam up, we weren't, by the time we got to them, they just disappeared, or they weren't appearing when we had the camera out. There was one point I'd seen them in the distance. I had to leave the road for quite a bit to get to them, but we saw them, so I quickly turned the camera on, and I decided I'm going off the road to try and get a really good shot, try and get as close as I could to these birds.
Left the road about 50 metres away, and when I was on the gravel, suddenly the bike just stalled. I didn't know what happened first straight away, but the engine, I turned everything off and just have a look underneath.
So really those birds saved my bacon, because if that had happened at any speed, that would have been pretty devastating. What those linkages do is they hold the swing arm down and stop the rear wheel from going up into the undercarriage. What had happened is the bearings, the metal bearings in here, they collapsed, and there was just metal on metal rubbing. It was just a matter of time before that all just wore through. So we were, I mean, there's no one around. I'm going to play the next clip, but it's we were really stuck.
One of the big disadvantages of having the country more or less to yourself is that when you need help, there's like no one coming. It's only a small piece of metal, really. It shouldn't be hard to fabricate. Find the right bearings and fit it, and we can do that probably by the end of the day if we can find someone to pick us up. There's no internet, no traffic, no one.
Okay, there's a truck coming. Let's see how Stu goes. Is he going to stop them? Yeah, run, Stu. Run, 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 run. So the truck's driving off. A car's pulled over. Let's see if they can help. I think a car can't help, but maybe they can call somebody. So Stu is walking off with the lovely young guys who stopped to help. They've pulled all the parts off Stu's bike. So he's going off with them to a town to get some new parts made up, I think. And we're not going to make it any further today. So I've just been looking around for someone to put up the tent. Azra's not happy. Where's he going? Just found a grassy spot over there. So I think that's where I'll put up the tent. We're going to have to peg it well. If it's anything like last night, it's going to be windy.
We're going to go to a mechanic and get one fabricated. So these are my new friends. Come on, button. They're we're quick drive. Hopefully we'll get everything sorted. These are the links that have come out of my bike. Really bad shape, and I really should have been on top of that, but all's well that ends well.
Bit of a pain really that this has happened. I'm feeling sick today. I felt yesterday like I was coming down with something, and then woke up this morning with a bit of a throat, bit of a nose thing. I'm just feeling really tired, but we have to keep moving, so we kept moving. Now this has happened, so we're going to be stuck here tonight. It's not stuck, I mean it's beautiful, but we were meant to make it another 250 kilometers to a town with a whole heap of hotels, and we're going to get into a hotel, which would have been nice. So camping again tonight. I'm hoping Stu remembers to pick up some food and water. I know what these kind of situations can be like though, and people are helping you, you don't want to take up any more of their time, so he may come back without that. The sun's setting, and Stu's not back yet. I've kept myself busy setting up the tent. Yeah, there it is in the background. Widdy's gone to bed. There's a nice spot down there, and if the bikes get put back together tonight, we'll just move them over there. Also fed the girls, and they've had water. I feel absolutely rubbish. Oh my gosh, I look terrible. I'm exhausted. Really, I'm exhausted. So beautiful here though.
What a night. We definitely stopped the right car yesterday. Two young guys, two engineers, stopped and couldn't communicate with them at all, but I could definitely let them know that the bike was broken and not going anywhere. They got out, came over and had a look at it and quickly pulled the linkages out and then just said, let's go. And didn't know what was happening, to be honest. Off we went, drove for over an hour, 150 kilometres to Altai, back to Altai, back to where their house was. They took me in. Janell had stayed with the bikes and set up camp. We knew we weren't going any further today. And went back, they fed me, made a little packed lunch for Janell when I came back, and went around to their friends and picked up welding gear and grinders. Went back to their house. They had spare bits and pieces lying around from Chinese bikes, and started just knocking something up, fabricated up linkages in the backyard. This is all happening in the dark, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. They're still working. Look at the linkages. They just found a piece this size and then a piece this size from Chinese suspension, and just put a metal rod, cut them off, put a metal rod in between, welded it all together, and there you go.
drove then, after having done all that, it's 10 o'clock at night when they'd finished it. We got in the car and they drove 150 kilometres back out here to fit it all. And we're still going at midnight. We're still working. Now, the only issue is that in here, there's normally a metal bearing. And the Chinese one, it's a rubber bush with a metal bush sitting in the middle. Yeah, I don't know how well it'll hold up, but it's a hell of a lot better than nothing. And those Chinese bikes, they do hold a lot of weight. A lot of people. I mean, the bike itself is nowhere near as heavy as this BMW, but I mean, they ride with a lot of people and a lot of luggage. When you often see them riding around 4 up with the whole family on board. So, and these bearings lasted 8 years. It's a really, really rough road. I just need to get to Ulaanbaatar. So yeah, it really doesn't need to do that much. And we're on all really good quality sealed road. Really, really happy. Really, we're going to be on our way. We should still beat the weather. It was cold last night. It was raining a little bit this morning, but that's all past. Blue skies again. And we should get into Ulaanbaatar tomorrow night on schedule, which is amazing. Yesterday when this happened, I was thinking, oh my God, it's over. We're going to be putting the bike on a truck and we're not going to be riding into Ulaanbaatar. But thanks to these guys, looks like we're all good to go.
So these guys are amazing. I after spending all night with us basically, and then still having to drive back to their place, I really had to be forceful just to give them money for the petrol that they would have used to do all the driving around. So it's just, this kind of example just happens time and time again for us, or when you're out traveling, the biker community or people just come to your aid all the time. It's a wonderful thing to see. So anyway, we needed 900 kilometres to get to Ulaanbaatar, and these linkages that they fabricated up, they saw us all the way through. On the outskirts of Ulaanbaatar, a biker that we connected with through the biking network in Russia met us on the outskirts and took us into a hotel in Ulaanbaatar, saw us in, and then the next day sorted out a linkage for us from a bike that had been wrecked and getting new bearings put in and everything sorted. So our bike was as good as new within days of arriving in Ulaanbaatar, and it was really, I was shocked. I was not expecting at all to be able to find those linkages in Ulaanbaatar. I thought for sure we were having to have them sent in from Europe or somewhere, but they made it happen. And we did just beat the weather. The day after we arrived, it was minus 13 Celsius, so close to 0, I guess, in Fahrenheit. It was snow everywhere. It didn't last very long. It did clear up, and we had an opportunity for us to leave. But as soon as we did, we had another small window to get out of Ulaanbaatar, and we took advantage of that. This is Baggy again, he also introduced us to the Red Falcons, which is the bike club in Ulaanbaatar, and even though it was pretty cold, pretty late in the year, they had pretty much finished for the year riding, but they went out and did one last ride because we were there with them.
So the Genghis Khan statue, the Genghis Khan statue is made of steel, and the building underneath it, that's actually a 2-story building. Inside there they've got like a little tourist centre, cafes, restaurants, you can buy souvenirs and things, but it really puts into perspective how big that statue really is. And we were really lucky that Baggy wanted to ride out to the statue with us. It's about 20 miles outside of Ulaanbaatar, because when we got there we asked them if we could take the dogs inside, and they thought about it and said, okay, but only if you carry them. We had 3 dogs. It would have been difficult for just Stu and I, but Baggy came along, so he carried Shadow for us so we could go up the statue with them. So that's the end. As mentioned before, we've got some stuff over there if you want to take a look later. And we'll hang around if you have any questions or you want to chat to us about travelling with dogs or anywhere we've been. But thanks very much.
There really is something to the whole watch this as, you meet people who are doing these incredible travels around the world on their bikes, and just what Stu and Janell are doing, which is, not only just traveling themselves, which is alone its own feat, as we know, but they're doing with their dogs too, to help, spread awareness of, the importance of rescuing animals. Plus they're having all these incredible experiences. This is a true watch this moment for them, and I'm just so pleased that they're able to join us. Thank you so much.